Hello and welcome to the second part of this cross-process video tutorial. In the last part we showed you how to use each of the individual levels channels, make adjustments to those to change the actual colour influence within the picture. So here we have our adjusted image, and if I click off that levels adjustment layer we can see the original image, which actually looks quite magenta. Now what we're going to do is to use a series of photo filters and hue saturation adjustment layers just to really kick out that cross-process look to the picture. So before we start, click onto your backgrounds copy layer, and what we're going to do so that we don't actually kick out the colours in the background too much is just to make a quick selection of our background areas. So if we choose our quick selection tool, and what we're going to do is very quickly just run around the model so that we can select all of that background area. And we're going to just smooth that by about 2 pixels. Make sure we've got our feathering at about 5, and we've left contract and expand as it was. So just click OK, and what we've got there is all of our background area selected. Now what we actually need to do is have a model selected, so if we go Control Shift I and Control Apple I, and that'll just invert our selection. So now we can see the running ants are just going around the model rather than around the model and around the outer edge of the picture. Now the reason that we do this is so that now that when we create an adjustment layer, it'll automatically create a mask for that adjustment layer. So the first layer that we want to create is a photo filter. So click on adjustment layers, down to photo filter, and we'll see the photo filter dialog window appear. And over on the right hand side in the layers palette you'll actually see it's automatically created our layer mask for that photo filter layer. Now when I flick down through all of the photo filters, I can see the difference and the influence that just the filter has on the model herself rather than on the background. So here I want to go for a slight cyan look, so I'll click down to cyan. I've left the density at about 25% because we want to keep that sort of natural look and tone about the skin, even though we're going through the cross-process technique. So we'll click OK just to apply that. And now what we want to do is to really boost those colours. But before we go to hue saturation, just hold down Control and click onto that photo filter mask. Then go up to your adjustment layers and hue saturation. And what you'll see is once again we've created our mask just for the model. So this hue saturation and the boost of the saturation will only affect the model and not the background. So we're going to take that up to about 20. And you can instantly see the effect and the boosting of the colours there. Just look at the before and the after, and we're really starting to get that cross-process look. So now we just click OK to apply that. Now at the moment there's still a bit of a cyan influence in the background, so what I want to do is just to use hue saturation layer just to remove that cyan hint, because I want to keep the texture of the background. So if I hold down Control and just click into one of those layer masks, and we can see our running ants going around the model. We now need to invert that, so go Control Shift I. That'll invert our selection so we now have our background selected. Before we go in and create a new hue saturation layer, just make sure you click on the very top layer, which is our levels layer. Then go up to our adjustment layer and hue saturation. And what we're going to do now is just to reduce the saturation of the background layer, and you can see that cyan hint from the backdrop just disappear, leaving us with a nice white background like the original image. So when we're happy with that, just click OK, and we see we've just removed that influence of the cyan from the background, but what we've also done is leave the shadows and the texture in there. So if we take a quick look at the before and after, I'll just switch off these adjustment layers. And you see the original, which is actually now looking quite magenta. Switch those adjustment layers back on, and you can really see that stylish look of a cross-process image. And all we have to do now is just flatten that image down and it's ready to print. So Make sure you've got your top layer selected, hold down your Shift key, click on the background copy layer at the bottom, then go Control or Apple E, and that'll flatten down all of those visible layers onto one. Now you can save that down, or you can go straight ahead and print it. And there is your cross-processed image.